What's up, guys? Today we're going to make another game. Last time it was tic-tac-toe and we ended up with 3 rows, 3 columns. You put an X, you put an O, you alternate until either somebody wins or the board is full, and every time it checks for those things, and that was the game. It doesn't look pretty, and we can go back later to make it nicer and more user-friendly, but it had all this stuff, and then later you can, like, in a modular fashion, fix up one part, keep all the others the same, and work with this solid foundation. I want to do a similar thing for another game. We're going to do War, the card game. It's the simplest card game. You just draw one and your opponent draws one, and whoever has the high card wins. Okay? If you remember, in quarter one we did a thing with deck of cards just as a practice for loops, where you could do 3 or 4 lines of code to get 52 lines of output by looping through the suits and the ranks and then saying 2 hearts, 3 hearts, 4 hearts, all the way down the line to get them all. So we're going to do a similar thing here, except we're not printing them all at the beginning. For suit and then we're going to do the suits, hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades, and for rank. And at first I'm just going to say the numbers, okay? So we will later want to make them have a name. 2 through 10 are already fine, but 11 is a jack and 12 is a queen, and so on. But I don't want to do that now because they still need the number, because the key thing of War is comparing which one's higher. And you can't compare queen to 5. You can't compare like the characters Q, U, E, N to 5. There's no, I mean, I guess it might do it alphabetically or something. But we want to have the queen be a 12 under the skin. And so later we'll add that skin on there. We'll make it look nice. But at first I'm just going to give it a number, okay? So we want to make a deck before we add to the deck. And it's a list. And it's going to go deck.append, rank, suit. I'm going to put extra parentheses because I'm going to make it so that like these 2 guys are kind of together. It's almost like X and Y coordinates, but it's 1 point, you know? So like one card has a rank and a suit, but it's together. So I'm going to put those parentheses around it, which is called a tuple. And if you know what I'm talking about, great. But if you want to see it, let's go print deck, and it'll show a list of all these guys. So this is 52 cards, 2 hearts, 3 hearts, 4 hearts, all the way down. And they don't look good, but they have the info, right? They have the content. And we'll add on the close later. So what do we need to do in a game of War? We need to make the deck, which we're doing. We need to shuffle the deck, which we can do after that. And then we need to have like each player draws a card, compare to see who wins, maybe a tiebreaker, maybe that's 1 word, and then we're kind of done, right? Maybe we need to keep score, I don't know. In physical cards, when you're playing War, you just take them both. Like if you get a queen and I get a 3, then you take the queen and the 3 and put them in your stack. That would be, I don't want to make this video an hour long, so we'll save that for later, but we might just give them a point or something. And then we got to make sure we're ready for the next turn. So we might check whether the deck is empty. Like, we don't want to say, hey, we're down to 0, now try to do another turn and run into an error or something. So all that stuff is going to happen more than once. So I'm going to go every turn, and then I'm going to indent these to represent that there's going to be some kind of loop or whatever. But let's make the deck, which we did, but let's give that a name because I like to organize it that way. Let's go populate deck, seems like a reasonable name for this guy, and bump it over, and then go, and then shuffle the deck. How do we do that? Well, we're going to not be able to, in what we've got right now, there's no random element, but we're going to import a module called random. And so later we'll learn about importing stuff. Often, if you're going to do Actually, this is probably the most common one. Random is probably the most common one we'll use. But we'll do like the math module if we need to do square roots or any other kind of math that's not the real basic stuff. We can import stuff that has to do with strings, like if you need to get some alphabetical business to organize stuff. We can import stuff that has to do with data structures, like organizing your more complicated info that we'll get to later. But random and then dot means you're going to use something from inside of it, and we're going to use one called shuffle, and then you tell it what you want it to shuffle, and it's the deck. Now let's print that just to see what it's doing, and if I hit run, it's going to print this, and if I hit run again, it's going to do it differently, right? So that's great. This has everything we need for the game. It doesn't look good, it's not beautiful, but it has everything we need. So we're going to take two cards and compare them, and we'll figure out how to display them, and we'll figure out how you might want to arrange that. But first we got to get like the core mechanic of the game, right? So every turn, that means there's going to be a while true, or we can change it to something else later. And I'm going to put a break because when we run this to test it, we're just going to test it once and not infinitely zoom through every time. Each player draws a card. That's interesting because I don't want to write all the code twice. I don't want to say player 1 gets this, take it off the deck, player 2 gets this. I might want to make a function and then tell it, hey, run that for player 1, run that for player 2, blah, blah, blah. But we'll see how it goes. Let's start typing. To get a card, we're going to say something like card equals, and then the deck is already shuffled, so let's just take one. Let's go deck 0, which is the first, physically it would be like the top, and in this case it'd be the 11 of spades. So we got it, and then we want to say remove that so that the next guy won't get the same card. Okay, deck dot remove deck 0, and then we probably want to print that to say, hey, player 1 got the 11 of spades or something, right? So that's going to be a couple lines, and I don't want to do it again for the next one, so let's like spin this off into its own little thing. Let's I'm going to go cut, and I'm going to add to the functions over here. Let's call it draw card. We might have a parameter in there. We'll see what happens. Obviously it's going to end up returning card, but when it does so, maybe it should print it and be like, hey, Bob got the player drew the is that gonna work? Let's try it. Draw card player 1. Let's see what happens. Player 1 drew the 7 of spades. Okay, again, it still looks weird. We can add a function to make that cool, to like take off the parentheses and say 7 of spades, but that is the content. That's what we need so far, right? And then we need to draw a card for player 2. And then we need to actually assign that to something. So let's go like player 1 card equals. And then, oh my gosh, that's so long. I'm going to have to type that a bunch of times. Now, let's hit run and make sure that's good. Player 1 drew the blah, blah, blah. Player 2 drew the blah, blah, blah. All right. Compare to see who wins. Let's do that. Let's say, like, if player 1 card greater than player 2 card, then something happens. But these cards are actually not comparable in that way, because the card has, at least I made it this way, I don't know why, the card has these two attributes with the rank and the suit. And we don't care about the suit right now. We just want the rank. So the rank is the first thing, which is the 0. Okay. Which is like that. Okay. Then we're going to go print. No, let's just say winner equals player 1. And then we'll print the stuff later. I don't want to make a long line. You know? Okay. elif, copy, and then just switch. Boop. Winner equals player 2, and then else winner equals no one. Then we'll say print winner wins. Let's try that. Okay. 1 drew the 4 clubs, 2 drew the 5 of hearts. That is correct, right? Do it a couple times to make sure there's no error, because what if it said, like, you get the 7 and I get the jack and it says you win? You know, we got to make sure that it's reliable. Okay. 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 Seems fine. Now, this is the game, right? This is war. It's drawing 1 for each person, saying who won. Everything else is just decoration. We want to make the card look better and have a name like queen instead of 12. We want to give them a nice score. We want to check whether it's empty. Let's do that one because that's pretty quick. If lin of deck is 0, then print game over, deck is empty, break. Actually, let's take this one off and see what happens. So it should keep going until the deck is empty and then say that. Woo, look at that. It does, drawing, what, 26 times, and then some of them were ties. There's a no one, so we know that's good. And then it says game over. Now, it should, in a real game, tell you who won, like who has the high score, but we haven't done the score thing yet, so let's see what's going on there. We're getting there, though. Now, here's an interesting choice, which is like, when we want to display the card, we want to say 9 of clubs, jack of diamonds, right? So we need a little more than this. And if I was making this in quarter 3 or a later lesson, I would say we want to make a thing called a class, and there's a card class, and it's going to have different functions. And we're going to ask it, hey, give me your short name, give me your full name, give me your rank value, you know. But we haven't done that yet, so we got to decide how to arrange this stuff in a way that is useful to us. So the rank number is useful. We need it to compare, but we also want to rank name, like Jack, King, Queen, whatever. So how do we do that? I can think of a few ways. One is we could make a separate function that we send it a card and it sends us back a string. Like if you send it 11 comma diamonds, like this tuple here, it'll say, what you really want, my friend, is Jack of diamonds. Another way is we could do the, like we could add another item to this tuple. We could have like rank value and rank name, and then just add in Jack, Queen, King at the beginning when the card is created, and then pull that out whenever we need it. Just like we used the 0 index here to get the number, we could use a 1 to get the other thing, or a 2 to get the other thing. I don't really like that though, because then you would need like an instruction manual, you know, like what is the 0? What is the 1? You'd have to like look it up elsewhere, and it's not very self-explanatory. So I'm going to make a separate function that just says like printable card. I don't know, we might change that later. And we're going to send it a card, and it's going to spit out a cooler version. Okay? So it's going to say like if card 0, meaning the rank, is less than 11, then rank equals str card 0. And what that means is like if we send it the 5 of clubs, then the 5 doesn't have to change. It just needs to be str because it's going to be printed later. But if we send it an 11 or a 12, then it needs to be something else. So like if it's 11, then rank equals jack. And then I'm going to do a little copy paste because this is the tedious part, right? And then, do you ever look at like a line here and you wish that this fit? You know what I mean? Like this colon being one notch over is killing me. So I'm going to go, not because this is logically different, just because it looks prettier. I know that's dumb. Okay, so if any of these guys are happening, then it gives it the name, the proper name. And then we want to say, let's get the full name. Okay, this is like the first name, right? But the full is like the jack of diamonds, the queen of spades, or whatever. So let's get a full name. Let's make a variable called full name equals rank plus of plus suit. Suit's already str, so it's fine. And then we're going to return full name. Okay. Suit, it doesn't know what suit means because that was in a totally different function. We're going to call that card 1 because that's the second thing in the tuple that gets sent to it. Because it's getting, remember, it's getting sent a pair of data, and the first one is one of these guys and the second one is one of these guys. So it's going to return that, and so it's, you're going to send it one of these, and it's going to return a nice version that says 5 of diamonds, king of spades, blah, blah, blah. Now, let's do that here instead. Okay, so we're going to go printable card. I don't know if I did it right. Let's try. Is it giving me errors? Oh, it was just going further in the same window and not starting over. Player 1 drew the 9 of hearts. Player 2 drew the 6 of spades. That looks beautiful, right? King, ace, queen. I love it. So this block here looks kind of chunky, but it does the job. And we never have to mention it again. It's just like, hey, if you have a card and you send it to here, then this is going to spit out the cool version that we want to show. Like the full name, you know. We could also make one that's like the shortened name, like that just says like JH or whatever if you want to do an abbreviation. Now, let's do something with the score. Okay, I'm going to leave the tiebreaker for later because that's kind of complicated, and I don't even know what people do in real life. Like I said, I think in war I've seen people will like go boom, 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 3 face down and then 1 face up, and if you win the face up tiebreaker, you win all those cards. But I'm not sure. Keep score. Let's just say, for the moment, we're just going to give them a point. We're just going to say, you won, you get +1, okay? So in that case, I've already got the stuff going on over here. We'll just add it to this section. Let's just make player 1 score. Again, by the way, I mentioned that if we were using classes, which is a concept we're going to find later, I would go like the player is a class, and it has a hand and a score and a stack, and all that stuff is like within that little universe. But right now, I'm just gonna go player 1 score, player 2 score, plus equals 2. I guess you get 2 because you get 2 cards. And now I know these don't exist, so we gotta make them exist. Let's see how that goes. Oh, well, it's not doing anything. We never told it to display the score. Might need a little str action in there. And copy that. Whoop. Let's see. I'm gonna go until it's over. Player 1. Hey, it's a tie. Look at that. Let's try again. Ooh, player 2 dominated. Okay, so that seems to be working. I'm not going to count to make sure it actually did it right, but that seems to be pretty good. Now, in a real game, we'll probably have it stop each time and say, do you want to draw again? Because it's weird to just zoom through the whole thing in 1 second. But you get the idea. I'm going to stop this here because this is just like the tic-tac-toe game was, where it works. It is solid. It does all the good stuff it needs to do. But it's a little chunky, it's a little ugly, and you have so much opportunity to improve this. You can make the tiebreaker work. You can make the score like an actual stack of cards. You can make the question, do you want to go again? You can make a little more personalized version where it asks, like, what's player 1's name? Bob. What's player 2's name? Mary. And then it says Bob drew the blah blah blah, Mary drew the blah blah blah. And that could be nice. And you can do little spacing where it gives you an empty line after each one of these to separate it. There's so much opportunity to improve this, but it's got a base of all the, core logic that works. Thanks.